No, it's not.
Right.
I still no, look, Happy New Year. Same to you, man. Still messing that flu got me. You had flu? Had it and got out there, man. Got wet the other day. Better? Not really. I still feel. It takes a while to get that back in business. Doctor said, man, it'll probably be weeks before you get back in it normalcy, man. It just. Sorry to hear that. It's just rough, man. Take care of yourself. Breathing, coughing, but it is what it is, bro. I'm still here to talk about it. It's hard.
No, I think he's, I did talk to him earlier today, but he's still.
He has got couple.
Okay. Mr. Byron, called me earlier and apologized. He won't make it this evening. Then Chief Abear is home sick right now, the past few days, so he won't be with us. We'll start with public, well, let's do a prayer and the pledge. Alderwoman Marks, would you like to lead us in the prayer?
Yes, sir. Heavenly Father, we call upon you tonight to guide us through this meeting and make good decisions. We are blessed that we've come through the holidays in the best of the ways. And we pray for those that don't make good decisions tonight, that you'll forgive them. So all these things we ask in your name. Thank you very much. Amen.
Alderman Martin, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, Public Works, Alderman Dore, it's yours.
Thank you. Public Works will convene December 20th. Okay.
That was a copy and paste error at the top.
Yeah, I see that. Okay. Anyway, we'll first hear from.
January 3rd.
Yeah. Skip over all of that, but anyway. We don't have Albert John to give his. Is there anything you know of, Mayor, that we need to know?
No, so Albert's still on vacation, he comes back tomorrow. As he would say, the street sweeper is in the shop. I've been wearing it out, I'm telling y'all. I've been wearing it out, but it is in the shop, it should be hopefully fixed this week. I do have an employee that's going to take the reins of that. Ricky Spell's gonna come back. Ricky Spell's a part-time employee with the street department, and he had a little health issue, and he stepped away for, it's been a week or a week and a half now, maybe a couple of weeks. But he's healthy and ready to come back, and we'll put him on the street sweeper. I did train him a little bit on the street sweeper, so he has an idea. It's obviously gonna take some practice, just like it did with me and anyone else who drove it. But we'll get that machine back on the road on a regular basis and cleaning up. I'll tell you that over the weekend, starting Friday last week, again Saturday, and then again yesterday, myself and our, I guess I could say, our new street commissioner, who is not appointed yet, but I will bring him forth. Maybe we could do that next week's meeting. he did start work today officially. And so our new street commissioner is Mr. Wesley Jacobs. And Wesley was there with us this weekend. We cleaned up around Public Works. If any of you have seen previously what that property looked like, I invite you to come by. And the fire chief was actually out there with us the whole time too, driving one of the dump trucks. And so we were moving stuff around and cleaning up. There's still some work to be done. The incinerators, at some point, we're gonna have to, I'm trying to get some pricing on taking those incinerators down. They have become a hazard. One of them for sure, a few storms back, and I'm talking about thunderstorms, not hurricanes, the stack has a big hole in the side now. They're rusted. Jeff, I think I asked you a while back, how long it's been since they've been used. I've never seen those things used. And they're rusted, they're in extremely bad condition. So I'm trying to get some prices on demolishing the incinerators themselves to be able to save the building. The building's still in good shape, it needs a few repairs, but to stop the rain from coming in. But the incinerators themselves need to go. They're becoming a hazard over there. But we have cleaned up a bunch over there, and we still have some work to do. Other than that, I think everything else is running. Everything else is in good working condition as of now, and Howard will be back tomorrow and off of his vacation and his rest time. So. But he's been available if I need it. So. Sam is in.
Were those, that was the building that we looked at, I think I asked the question then, was any of that scrappable?
The incinerators, that's the building that the two old fire trucks are in that I brought you to that. I think so, most of it probably. The smokestacks inside are some type of cement. And I'm assuming that the actual barrel where the flame would be to burn the trash is also has some cement in it. I don't know how that sells or as scrap iron or whatnot, but there's a lot of iron that is just scrap, that would just become scrap iron once it's demolished. I'm hopeful that someone, again, maybe I'll get my hopes up for nothing and get my heart broken when I find out that maybe that iron isn't worth a whole lot, and so the contractor still wants a check to do the work, just like the Enterprise Center. But I'm hopeful that I can find somebody that'll want to take the iron for some of the pay. But yes, there should be something. It should be worth something.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. We're looking forward to meeting Mr. Jacobs.
Yes.
With that said, let's move on to City Engineer, Mr. Tim Mayor.
Thank you, Jeff. I think you've all received a copy of my written report. The action items that I have to cover today are on page 3. And these are in regard to contract A, street improvements, and contract B, street improvements. The resolution of termination and the final contract change order are what is being presented tonight, along with a partial payment estimate. I want to remind you that the contractor will be paid retainage under the contract 45 days after recordation of the notice. And assuming council action on January 10th, which is the meeting next week, and the notice of termination being recorded the next day, the lien period would expire on February 27th, and after the contractor would issue a clear lien certificate, all retainage would need to be released
released at that time, assuming that the clear lien certificate is valid. So partial payment estimate number 20, contract A. As of December 31st, the project substantially complete. Our preliminary partial payment estimate number 20 has a total value of work completed at $6,763,550.07. The amount of $338,177.50 being withheld for labor and material liens, and the amount of $10,000 being withheld for final completion of the punch list, contract A. The total amount due for estimate number 20 is therefore $171,712.08. The council action that I'm requesting, that's near the item D in the left margin. You see there items 1, 2, 3 under council action requested. First, I would ask you to consider approval of that partial payment number 20 to Glenn Leger for the citywide street improvements contract A in the amount of $171,712.08, 171,712.08. Notice that I'm referring to that as preliminary partial payment estimate. The reason for that, I don't expect the numbers to change substantially, if at all, between now and Wednesday, but we had some items that the work hadn't been done yet, and the payment is based on quantities, so we won't know that final quantity until next Wednesday. You may notice in your agenda, action items were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I used the term TBD, to be determined. That's because this was submitted last Friday, and last Friday I didn't have the information at all. Today I have numbers that I think are very close to the final numbers. What I will do, and I mentioned that in my email to you all, that as soon as the numbers are finalized, I will send you by email before next Wednesday the supporting documentation like I've always done in the past. So again, first item, contract A, approved partial payment estimate number 20.
Offer.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Motion and a second. We have any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes.
The second item under contract A would be to approve the final contract change order, which is change order number 5. And that would be in the deductible amount of $55,206.54. And to adjust contract time to that substantial completion date of December 31st.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second? Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, the third item for contract A, I did have documentation that came with my email to you. It is the resolution of termination. And I want to go over that with you. If you will, do you all have a copy in front of you? It's the resolution of termination for contract A. Resolution authorizing the director mayor to execute for on behalf of the city of Crowley a notice of termination for Glenn Leger construction contractor pertaining to substantial completion of the contract for 2021 citywide street improvements contract A in accordance with the plans and specifications contained in the contract documents pertaining thereto. Notice that preamble to the resolution refers to filing a notice of termination, and that is what I mentioned a while ago, is the first act that starts the 45-day lien period. Whereas a final inspection on the above referenced project was performed on July 19, 2023, and the attached punch list identifies incomplete miscellaneous work items. If you'll turn to the last several pages of the attachment there for the resolution, final inspection. This is the same list that you all received after the July 19th final inspection. However, the items that you see lined through, what's referred to as punched out, those have been punched, meaning that they've been taken care of. The only items shown in the punch list now that have not been stricken and punched are number 34, number 36, number 37,
37.
Portion of 37.
there's some left on 37. And then also 49 and 50 and 60. Those items, some of them are pay items, some are non-pay items. But when I mentioned earlier that we were withholding 10,000 for final completion of the punch list, that 10,000 is what we're holding to ensure the contractor gets that work done under contract A.
Do we need a motion on
Now, let me go ahead and finish reading the resolution. Yeah, I'm trying to let you know as we go what these paragraphs mean. Whereas Glen Ledger Construction as contractor has substantially completed contract A in accordance with the plans and specifications contained in the contract documents pertaining thereto, and whereas the city of Crowley desires to accept the completed work, now therefore be it resolved by the city of Crowley that the mayor of said city is hereby empowered, authorized, and directed to execute a notice of termination for and on behalf of the city of Crowley, accepting the work as being substantially completed, and that he be authorized and directed to have a copy of said notice recorded in the conveyance records of the parish of Katy, state of Louisiana.
So move.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second? Any discussion?
Yes.
Brett?
Item number 37, is that within contract A or B?
37 is contract A. Those 36 and 37 refer to the intersection corners that the edge was thicker than in some other places. Where we could do it without affecting the travel lanes, we shaved those down. But in any case, we're asking the contractor to put a white stripe throughout the intersection to note the existence of that edge. He hasn't done that yet, so we're withholding money from him until he gets it done, because that's a non-PI.
The issue I have with that is where the asphalt, and I understand, Tim, we talked about this several times, where the asphalt exceeds more than an inch and a half above the gutter. And I understand the reason why, but when there's a thickness of 6 inches or greater differential, the plans indicate that you prepare, that the fire council approved. We also, did our inspections of the punch list items. But I think where these areas of 6 inches and greater pose a public safety hazard. I know 2 individuals have been injured, falling vehicles have bottomed out in those areas. I just think that when the contractor was awarded this contract, he certainly knew what the specifications were. And I think just putting a Band-Aid on it by putting a white stripe is not sufficient. I don't know why it can't be tapered down and done more in alignment with the plans that the fire council approved. I just have a problem with that much drop off not being properly done by the contract. And, I'm concerned about future liability to the city. If, additional people do get injured and, or vehicles damaged because of it. And, I don't think putting a white stripe is the cure-all for the problem.
Any other discussion?
I'd like to add to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What about the cleanup?
cleanup items were listed in the punch list. Item 1 through 60 included cleanup, and those have been punched out, so it's my understanding that cleanup has been
I know I
completed.
still have stuff in front of my house,
Is it on the list?
you know.
See,
I thought they were supposed to drive around and pick up whatever out of the yards.
we made a list of specific places that the contractor had to address during the final inspection.
That wasn't what we talked about, when we drove around, we didn't talk about cleanup, I understood that they were supposed to drive around and check all the yards, and they threw stuff in some of the yards, when they, I guess, graded or whatever. Is there asphalt still in my yard, there's some still in my neighbor's yard? I don't know what part of that would be. Or how do I get that out?
Well, at this point, if it's on the punch list, it was done. If it's not on the punch list, then it becomes a warranty item. But if you have to wait that long for a warranty item to be taken care of, then you get your street department to take care of it. The whole idea of the final inspection was to list every specific problem that we saw.
Well, we drove around and found out the cracks and were told, hey, we're not gonna fix it the way you wanna fix it, we're gonna just wait for them to get a little bit worse, grind them out, put some deep or whatever inside of it. We never rode around and talked about anything that was in anybody's yards. Do you remember any of that?
Nothing that you just said hits home with me.
Chair, one more, question on item 48. They clean out the asphalt buildings at all quadrants, North Avenue, I, East Hutchinson. There's still debris, I think at the southeast part of 10 and the yard right there.
I mean,
Chair, I would like to respond to Mr. Ford's concern with the question of what other viable solution could be offered relative to 36 and 37, and it is being not compliant with the contract. What would you say would be the solution?
Right, that's, certainly, our city engineer would be more versed in that. I'm looking at what the plans called for, and it just looks to me like the contract ignored taking the extra time and effort to do those intersections correctly, and just paved that area 16 inches above the gutter.
yeah, we don't share your concern about it being a hazard, and so that's why we don't think that it's worthwhile to go and drill down any further to make that edge less thick and change the cross slope of the travel lanes that approach that intersection.
When 2 people have been injured because of it.
I'm not aware of any.
Well, I'm making everyone aware.
It's been since July 19th, and no one said that there was an injury until now. And I don't know anything about the injury. If you say there's injuries, I would know.
Right, that people.
But I don't know the
Two
details,
individuals in my wall.
and I don't know that the thickness was the core problem.
But it was a large drop off.
Right, but the circumstances of the accident, I don't know.
What's the address of that accident? What was the address?
Eighth Street.
It was on the
Is that 8th and 8th?
Around the park.
Over by the hospital?
No, by the park.
By the,
There was another.
yeah, and then there was, by the American Legion area. But I believe that was on the punch list, I don't see.
It was, and that's why I'm looking at the punch list, and it's indicating that that would be done, and now it's scratched out and changed to putting striping. It's been on number 37
The
particularly.
contractor attempted to mill it down, and it just wasn't working out. The grade cross slope of the through street wasn't working out well with cutting that edge down. You can't just cut that edge off, you've gotta come back at a distance to do it.
Oh, I understand.
So, yeah, there's a lot to consider there, and the final word we have on it is that it's not necessary to change what's there.
Tim, that particular corner that we went to where they milled that corner, that looks very bad. That radius that is thick, but that's where they tested to mill it and see how it would work out. You can see the previous roadway on that edge. The asphalt above the previous roadway, do you remember how much asphalt there was above the previous roadway? And this is one that's probably about 5 or 6 inches, a drop off. But there's not 5 to 6 inches of new asphalt on top of the previous asphalt. It's 1.5 to 2 inches of asphalt on top of the previous asphalt, which means if it's 6 inches, the previous asphalt was currently more than 1.5 to 2 inches before the overlay. Remember that corner we went to on, I think it was East 6th, maybe, 6th or 7th? And you showed me where they milled that radius. And most of those radiuses, you can actually see the old asphalt still there. And the 1.5 to 2 inches, some of it maybe up to 3 inches, above the old asphalt. The old asphalt was previously more than 1.5 to 2 inches. And then we came on top of the old asphalt with new asphalt, another 1.5 to 2 inches. My point is many of these intersections were already in that condition of having a decent drop off, and then we added asphalt on top of that and increased that drop off. My understanding from different conversations and discussions with you and the contractors and is that the reason our intersections became this issue that we're talking about is because our city drains to the intersections. The center of the block is the highest and was built that way, not always now because a lot of stuff sunk and settled. But the center of the block is the highest, and the catch basins, the drains, are at the corners. So that's the deepest of the gutters on the curb and gutter roads. And so without making intersections with humps to make a smooth intersection, the asphalt is thicker at the intersection and sticks up higher than the curb, much higher than the curb of the intersection than it would in the center of the block. Is that correct?
Generally, that's what I heard.
That's the dummy way of explaining
Well, let me say this, if injury and accidents are a concern, and they are, as much of a concern to me as anyone else, is the injury or accident would occur because nobody realizes there's a drop-off there. So to say that the white stripe is no good, I think is to look beyond, what are we doing? We're trying to alert the public that there's something there to be aware of. And so the white stripe will satisfy that condition, I think. Certainly enough that it's a standard of care that we apply. If we want to reconstruct that intersection, maintain drainage, maintain a consistent cross slope through the streets, then we're going to have to redo the intersection. We could do that. If we had done that here, we would have paid for that. The contractor only did what he was asked to do.
Which includes changing the level of manholes and everything that are in those intersections, correct?
Right. Not to mention that the manholes themselves sit on expansive clay soil. They move up, they move down, the manhole top
I think-
moves down. all of that's a dynamic that we have to deal with.
I think the elephant in the room that everybody's been skirting around is, the fact of the matter is, the decisions were made to do the street overlay in the fashion that it was done. The contractor did what he was paid to do and was told to do. And the decisions were made to do it in that way to be able to resurface every street in the city at an affordable price tag for the city. Could it have been done better? Could we have done different things to make it better? To make a stronger road, or not so high, and mill every road that was overlaid? Could that have been done?
Not with the funding.
At a much higher price tag, but it could have been done. So, right, so that's something that really has never been said. The project was chosen to be done in the fashion that it was done so that the city could afford to overlay every street in the city. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, that's just facts. They did it in a way that it was able to be afforded to overlay every street in the city. If we had gone in and milled every street in the city, not only would we have a much larger mountain of reclaim, but we'd have had a much larger bill to pay, and we wouldn't have been able to afford every street in the city. So it was chosen to overlay what was already there, and you also had a base there. Is that at least partially?
Yeah, the long and short of it is the city doesn't have nearly the bonding capacity to pay for reconstructing all your streets. And even if you reconstructed all your streets, if you reconstructed them to a DOT highway standard, you got highways running east, west, north, south of Crowley that are giving way to the drought, giving way to the expensive clay soils that lie underneath 16, 18 inches worth of pavement that's asphalt and base. It's just, you would have been wasting money. To get back to Brad's point, I know that Brad has looked at the plans and he sees that the detail says maximum 1.5 inch on the edge. That maximum 1.5 inch edge was to control quantities and cost more than anything. We didn't want the contractor to be setting his asphalt laydown machine and not realize that edge had to be held down so that we were within budget for the payment that we pay. We pay for asphalt per ton. So that thickness was not there because greater than 1.5 inches is a safety problem.
Yeah.
It was there to control cost. We got thicker on the intersections. That happened. The amount of money at an intersection that you're going to pay for the additional thickness is worth maintaining the cross slope on the through streets. So, I don't know how else to explain it. He was not held to precisely 1.500 inches on the edges. The contractor held that pretty close between the intersections. But when he got to the intersections, he had to try to compromise between thickness of the edge and the cross slope of the pavement and through traffic not dipping down as it approached the intersection. Those kinds of things are all considerations. We made a decision based on looking at the whole picture.
Okay.
Mayor, I just want to add, quite simply, when the contractor did this project, he had the plans. If he didn't go out there and look at these intersections, or if those intersections weren't noted in the plans for an exception of those elevation differences that pre-existed the work, I just don't think that the contractor took it upon himself to look into these areas where you have that much to drop off now. And as you mentioned earlier, where you had additional asphalt that was there, why wasn't it ground down further to accommodate our engineer's plans?
I'd like to add to that, Mayor.
So the contractor did the job, his estimate for the work to be done. I don't think we need to expand the dialogue that, well, if we did all, could it be done better? Well, should be done according to the plans, in my opinion. And the contractor should be held to what the city,
Ah,
hire him to do at his price. If he messed up on his pricing, that's not the city.
But it's also, and I'm not taking up for the contractor or engineering or previous administration or anything. I just want to make sure that we all understand, and make sure I understand. When you say that he bid the job, understand that we're less $50,000, I think it is. So he bid the job, not, that's what it should cost. Estimating that it's gonna take that many tons of asphalt, that many, feet or miles of road milled, that much concrete replaced. If it didn't take that much, then the price tag goes down. So it was advantageous, seems to me that it would be advantageous to the contractor to mill more road so that he could collect more money, put more asphalt so that he could collect more money. But in this case, he milled less road, put less asphalt, and is collecting less money than the actual total bid. And so I find it hard to believe that this contractor did less than adequate work, making less money than the bid came in, than the quote came in, on purpose. Just because he was lazy, he didn't want to make no more money. He milled less roadways than, or I don't know all the numbers, but the total cost of the contract, what are we getting back? How much less are we?
Contract A, it's on page 3, contract A is $55,206.54. Contract B is $647,777.28.
So,
Deducted, so it's a total of about $800,000.
$800,000 less work done and materials used than he originally planned to make here in this city.
I understand, Mayor, but, we're looking at contract A with the issue that I'm raising here as a concern. I'd also like to point out the contractor did come back at the intersection of Avenue I and East 4th Street and remove that triangle section of asphalt that extended up, came back and repaved that and contoured it into the gutter. So that was actually done to conform with the plans.
And that corrected that,
Drop off.
that was a tall, I guess a deep drop off.
Right.
That was a thick,
Right, so not just going back and milling, but moving.
cutting out the corner.
Cutting out that and replacing it in accordance with the plans.
I don't know if
And
that,
again, if.
I don't know.
And I'm not saying the inch and a half has to control, because as everyone knows, we do have various elevations and the intersections require the catch basins to collect water. However, when we're over 6 inches in height, as indicated in our punch list that we
I can't even get,
proceed to agree to.
I agree, when I get to those corners with the street sweeper, I can't get down in there.
Well, and that's another thing that
It's
brings
tough to
up
get-
the point, is that those leaves collect in there. Now, the city workers are gonna have to go out there and remove it by hand. Machine can't get down in there, so it's more than just, safety problems.
Is that, Mr. Mayor, is that something that, those corners, we can look at that Fourth and, what you said,
Fourth and I is where the.
Fourth and I, where that work was done, and see if some of these other corners that are extreme, I don't think there's but a handful of them, right? I mean, it's not the entire city that's,
I think Avenue H and 8th is extreme.
There was also Avenue K between 6th and 7th, and we spent quite a bit of time at that corner because of the drainage problem, and it's a very deep drop off. And driving with perception, as you could turn in a corner,
you're talking about the old house bill?
that's right.
That's some we'd have to dig up roadway for that. That's
Yeah.
some cross drains, we saw that, that's
And
some
that's
cross drains
another
that are
example of
very
a
old.
safety factor that possibly, you know, those white strips, if you come around in a small, as.
And that's
compact,
concrete, that was there already.
That's right, it was one of those things we did. take
So,
out.
so the question is can we look at some of those other intersections that have this deep drop off and see if they're a candidate for the same as Fourth and I's repair, I guess, correct?
We did that, and the other locations weren't the same situation, so we said we're not gonna try to do that at those other locations. And let me say this, and I think this will be my last comment, is I'm asking the council to consider this project substantially complete, not perfectly complete, substantially complete. There isn't enough left to do by the contractor that would prevent me from telling you that the appropriate action at this time is to accept the project as substantially complete. Are there imperfections out there? No doubt. Those imperfections are growing just due to nature as we speak. But if there's something that we need to do to change any of this, then we should be doing it through some other means, not this contract. It's time to accept this contract, adopt the resolution of termination, and go on and deal with these problems in another way.
And we still have a warranty that applies to the project that,
You have a warranty that will cover you on deficient materials and workmanship. All of this right here is not deficient materials and workmanship. This is, as your engineer, I'm telling you that what's left to be done doesn't prevent me from recommending that this resolution be enacted to declare the project substantially complete, recorded, and close the project out.
okay.
That's what I'm advised.
Any more discussion? We'll go ahead and vote, all in favor,
Hi.
all opposed,
Nay,
motion passes.
If I may, go on now to contract B. Almost everything that we went through on contract A applies. The numbers are the thing that's different. As of December 31st, the project is substantially complete. Our preliminary partial payment estimate number 15 has the total value of work completed at $9,410,688.39. Again, these numbers will change slightly as we close out the pay items on the punch list. The amount of $470,534.42 is being withheld for labor and material liens, and the amount of $38,433.90 is being withheld for final completion of the punch list. That $38,433 is the additional striping that the mayor asked us to do at the parks, the slow legends. The fire chief asked us to put in some additional no parking in front of the main fire station. And we have left to do the parking striping downtown, which was a lump sum pay item.
Yes.
We think that he's gonna get all that done by next Wednesday. If he doesn't, we're withholding $38,000 from payment to make sure he gets it.
Yes, Jeff. I'd like to comment on that. So this Sunday, and I've got the Main Street office working on the notices to go out to businesses and residents downtown. But this Sunday, they will be restriping downtown. And with the added residential downtown, people, obviously we have vehicles parked there all the time now. So we're gonna ask the residents Saturday evening when they park to park on a side street to give way for the striping to be done downtown on Sunday. So that'll happen this Sunday, the downtown striping. The slow legends that Tim's talking about at the parks, Tim and I went last week and to each park in the city, and the streets, the number of streets, there's not the avenues, because the avenues run east and west, north and south. the avenues have stop signs on them. But the streets that run east and west do not have stop signs on them at least 4 of our parks, 3 of our parks. And so what we're doing is just before the intersection of the park, we're gonna put slow in that lane. In the middle of the block of the park, going in both directions, we'll put slow on the roadway. And then on the opposite end, approaching the intersection before the park, we'll put slow. And that'll be on both sides. There was, actually, we found that it was already done in some of the striping at one of the parks, I don't remember what it was, in St. Teresa, so Dussault Park. It was already done there. We just added a couple approaching the intersection because they were in the block of the park. So that's what the slow is. We're gonna try and alert people of the parks, as they approach them around the city. And then the fire department, before the overlay, if you remember the legends, they were probably 8, 10, 12 inches. They were really large letters that said no parking in the front of the station, at Central Station, and then out in the median. And the new ones aren't as large, so the chief asked if we could put more. He asked if we could put larger ones, but they don't have the larger stencils anymore. And so we're adding more to it, so that'll be some no parking stuff there. Other than that, I think that's the only additional striping that we're waiting on. The slow in the downtown stuff.
Let me mention too, Mayor, the downtown parking striping that's gonna happen on Sunday. We did not purposefully, include restriping the lane lines, the travel lane lines on parks in downtown because the DOT had fairly recently repainted them. And when we talked to DOT about it, they said, well, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna have to get a permit for that. And so we said, we don't do it, they're not that old, and you have to spend more money.
Sure.
Our plans only call for the parking stalls.
Sure.
So you maybe wonder why those stripes are not being replaced, and that's fine. I want to also mention, before I go on to the action, Chief Romero and his firemen are going to replace all of the blue reflectorized markings that note fire hydrant locations. That was in the plans, and we decided to work with the chief. This is the way it was done 20-some odd years ago, as the fire department went out and installed them. That way they get installed exactly where the chief wants them, in exactly the way he wants them to be done. They have to be glued down to the pavement. And we're gonna save some money by doing it that way. We are now in the process of ordering the 900 some odd reflectorized pavement markings to mark every fire hydrant. And those should be coming in, they're gonna be delivered to the fire department, and the fire department is going to install them over time.
Right. And those blue markings, for those of you wondering, if you don't know, it's a reflector like the ones the yellow ones in the middle of the roadway. But this is put in the middle of the lane of travel on the side of the road that the fire hydrant is on, so that firefighters can look down the road with a flashlight or Q-beam or driving up to it and see the blue reflector there. They know that there's a fire hydrant on that corner. So they can look down a couple blocks this way from the scene or whichever and see where the fire hydrants are. Now, currently they do have GPSs in the fire trucks that have all the fire hydrants marked on it. But these blue markers do help also to help them find the fire hydrants, because that's their lifeline, is those fire hydrants in the city.
And because this is a unit price contract, those items are zero, so you're not giving the contractor a pass on doing something that he's being paid for. So if I may, item number 1 under contract B, approved partial payment estimate number 15 in the amount of $238,010.31.
We have a motion,
So moved. Second?
we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes.
Item 2 for contract B is approved the final contract change order number 3. For contract B, in the deductible amount of $647,777.28, and to adjust the contract time to the substantial completion date of December 31st.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
We have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed?
Item number 3 is to adopt a resolution of termination for the construction contract with Glen J for contract B.
So moved.
Have a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Torre, I just, on this street project, I just wanna say that I sure as hell wish we'd have all had the opportunity to start it and finish it. You know, without going into too much detail, I know we have some of the previous councilmen here also that probably wish the same thing. But we have what we have, and we were able to oversee it the way we were oversee it. I think we have good roads now. Yes, we have cracked roads, but everywhere is cracked roads. Our sewer department actually had a cracked levee because of the drought. I drive in other cities often, and I'm thankful that our roads are the way they are.
Mayor, I want to say the prettiest road in the city is on Riceland Drive. It is perfect.
Very little traffic over there, too. Thank you.
That's the only action item that I have under public works.
We have Mr. Hoosiers.
Yes, talking about the striping that y'all got planned for downtown. I don't know if y'all have ever driven south past Second Street, and so you're single lane from the courthouse to the Second Street, and it takes off 2 lanes. And if you notice with the way they stripe the road, you're right, the traffic, being the right-hand lane is way close to the back of the traffic of the cars that's parked. That doesn't seem where people passing in that lane, get up to the intersection, cars are trying to come across, they can't see. So I was wondering if we could change that from a 2-lane back to a 1-lane like the rest of the parking system to eliminate the possibility of accidents right there.
You know, I guess we could stripe it for now to do that. I'll tell you that this god-awful word, finances, I'm waiting on finance numbers to make a decision. I've already gotten Mr. Mader to give me a rough estimate on what it would cost. I don't see the city ever being able to afford, maybe one day, let's not say never, but currently it's out of reach to afford extending the streetscape from Second to the tracks. That's a 100% city-owned roadway, there's no state road there. And I think the last Mr. Mayor looked at it, the city's portion is a little over $1 million. There is some state funding available for it, but the city's portion to complete that is a little over $1 million, I think. Correct. What I'm looking to do, and I was actually asked by Mr. LJ to look into this, Mr. LJ Geelan, is extend the median in the same way. I've already talked to CLECO to see if they will put the same poles, but extend the median in the same way that it is up to Second, from Second to the tracks. That would fix that problem. I can't make that decision yet, and I can't even bring it to the council to ask them to make that decision yet, because that depends on the infrastructure account. That price tag was $300,000, approximately $200,000 to $300,000, I think you said,
Two things you just said, yes.
for the median, just the median.
And the lighting.
And the lighting, yes. $200,000 to $300,000 for that. So I'm waiting on numbers so that we know how much is in the infrastructure fund, so that we know how much we have, how much is going to be used to pay these bonds for the street overlay project over the years, how much has been collected, all that stuff. But we are looking into that. I would love to extend that median all the way to the tracks, and that would bring it down to one lane, just like the rest of it.
It just seems like a hazard right there. with-
I agree.
Since they striped it, it's way different.
I agree.
All right.
Thank you. We are looking into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, one on striking, Tim, what's the typical life of striking that we put it down, as far as years? What's typical?
10 years. I think public bodies let it go 20, they Lafayette and DOTD will let striping fade to nothingness. Into where you follow the car ahead of you, you'll get a head-on collision before you. So I think the useful life is probably 10 years, but I think double that is usually what the local authorities can afford to do. It's not cheap.
And I know some new material that's being used, versus old days of.
Yeah, old days paint, now it's extruded plastic,
Yes.
crystallized, good
Yes.
stuff.
Thank
Thank you, Brad. Any more discussion? If, we voted and everything?
Yeah,
There's so much talking, I forgot.
yeah, you're done, unless you got anything else to come before.
All right, that wore me out, but anyway, I will let this committee, recess.
Thank you, Mr. Torrey.
You're welcome.
Utility Committee, Alderman Martin, please, sir.
Well, we'll go ahead and continue to take that pressure off the gym. We do have a forum, and, let's start off with Tim Creed, wastewater superintendent.
Good afternoon, happy new year to everyone.
Thank you, man.
During the month of December, we received 133 locate requests from Louisiana One Call. We processed 22 work orders during the month. We had two major events that occurred during the month. Before I get into that, during the month of December, there were 5 days where we recorded rainfall. And the reason I'm telling you this is because it did portray into what actually occurred at the two sites. During those 5 days, we averaged, coming to the plant, 6 million, a little better than 6 million gallons of water. Inflow and infiltration is throughout the city. There have been a lot of leaks repaired, and there's probably just as many still occurring. The remaining 27 days of the month, we averaged a little better than 1 million gallons. So you can see, during a small rain event, no matter how small, we do get excess water into the system. With that, on Eastern Avenue, roughly the 18th, I think it was a Saturday, there was a reported stop up on the east side of Eastern. During the course of looking at that, there was some water that was coming up through the roadway on the southbound lane on the west side of Eastern. Long story short, there was a system at the property that was pumping water to us. Code enforcement was notified. They are in discussion with the property owner to remove that system. The repair that had to occur, the gentleman had installed his own line, his own service line with a clean out that was not compatible with what we needed to run our push tapes or cameras. We went in the following following Thursday, we repaired that, cleanout. During the, we noticed, and what brought us to research the property, we kept having water, well, every 5-10 seconds we'd get water during the rain event. The main lines were full, and when I say full, the mayor was with us. We traced manholes from Eastern all the way out to the main plane. And when we say full, they're full. It's, the pump as fast as they pump. You can only fit so much water in a 24-inch pipe. Once that was repaired, I've sent some pictures to your email. If you haven't got them, let me know, I'll give them to you. In the cast iron pipe, so we went from PVC to clay pipe underneath the roadway into cast iron that goes through the drainage in the median. Roughly 2-3 feet in of the cast iron, there was a broken cleanout cap. That was removed, but we don't know if that, there's no proof to say if that actually damaged the clay pipe all the way down. You know, it was removed. The cast iron pipe was cleaned out. Didn't see any further damage to the main line, which was roughly 5 feet from that point to the main. That repair was changed out, the entire clay pipe was changed out with PVC schedule 40, all the way to that cast iron. At the connection, it was like concreted in where that piece would not come undone. We feel comfortable that it's secure. The hole was backfilled according to the ordinance, and I believe today they removed the plates, and we'll be getting together on the next process to remove the excavated floor fill and come with the hot mix to stay sandwiched for the roadway. The other situation occurred Christmas Eve. So roughly 5 minutes before 5 o'clock that afternoon, we get a call that there's a lot of water coming from the Magnolia station. As soon as I got the call, kind of had an idea. I called my guy that controls the lift stations. We shut the system off at that point, you know, roughly a couple of minutes from I got the call while we flying into Crowley. We get there, some of the pictures you'll see there's a hole there where the cap from an existing sewer force main was on the back of that. And we believe that the force of the water backed the top off. And it allowed stormwater / sewer water out. By the time we got there was water on the property. We started shutting down other stations that fed that line, that system. All of the water in South Crowley, or the majority of the water, other than the northern part of South Crowley here on the west side, that comes up to Parkinson. But Cedar Lift Station, which handles Eastern Avenue and that south, that pumps into Magnolia. The big golf course station handles Bayou Bend. That comes into the same force main, not into the system, into that station. So the truck stop casino, which does not produce a lot of water, also comes in. So all those systems were shut down. Thank goodness it was at night. The repair was done, and again, when the mayor was out there, I want to thank Michael Dupuy. I want to thank namely my staff, Asa Vincent, Shawnee Woodrow, Chris Hall, all left their family, and we're out there all night. The next day, I've got 3 other guys came to give us some relief. You know, we were still moving around. I got a truck in, vacuum truck to vacuum Bayou Bend because of the that station was filling up a little faster than we wanted it to, where we couldn't pump. That truck ran probably 8 to 9 hours. And then we released them once we were able to get things connected. We had a welder come in that night, weld a plate on the T, on the backside of the pipe. The well held. We started the pumps, it was holding. So we got the wild idea, well, we had to cut on another pump, so we went down the body, then we cut one of them on, and almost immediately the pipe that was tied into the T ended up against the back wall. So now we're back to planning again, square one. So the welder was still there. They ended up with a fabricated piece of metal done and welded on the T. That morning, as things are progressing, we start running the pump at Magnolia. We see it's holding. We start turning on the other pumps. The weld actually held. We met up, Brett from Major Engineering and I met out there at 1:30 Christmas Day and got a game plan on a permanent fix. Tuesday, everything is pumping. We didn't have no issues, no reported backups during that time from 5 o'clock Christmas Eve up till now for South Crowley. Once we met out there, Wednesday morning, we met up with Wesley from EB Fudge, who came in and Thursday morning did the permanent repair. And those pictures are in the email that I sent. They redid the T, rebolted the point of fittings and used some mega lugs to hold it in there. And we pumped in about 2.5 to 3 yards of concrete. Hopefully we won't visit that hole anytime soon. But I can't express enough thanks for my guys coming out there. You know, one of the most important holidays of the year. And they're coming out there. You know, money they make is not the best, but much appreciated. Appreciate them guys because they were there, you know, along with the mayor, Michael Dupuy and his people. You know, the little welder, I don't know if y'all got the picture of that, the little guy was down underneath the pipe. And I mean, he had a piece of visqueen, but he was laying in the mud. I mean, it was pretty much clean by then, you know, but having the weld up underneath there. But it is what it is. We move forward, and hopefully we don't have that again. You know, but that was rather eventful. But other than that, different note, I reported sometime back we had an aerator that was down, but some of the material is being fabricated to get that back in service. Other than that, anyone have a question?
Tim? Two things just quickly, regarding Eastern Avenue, the first rollout that Tim mentioned, I think the good thanks is due to MTV for their cooperation. They did not look over our shoulder. They knew we needed to get in there and fix it. Highway 90 there is very busy. They left us alone, and they allowed Chief Big Bear and his police out there to direct traffic to get it over across the opposing traffic lane, so we could close that one. Everything there went smoothly for a lot of reasons, but I'd like to cite the MTV for their cooperation. They did a bad rap for a lot of things, but they do a lot of good things too. The second thing I'd like to mention is Tim talked about the spike in flow at the plant. This is in your report, this graph. If you look at this graph carefully, you'll see that when it rains, the orange side is rainfall, the blue side is gallons, moving down. And when it rains an inch, flow spikes at a million gallons. So 6 inches is at 6 million gallons over there instead of
I'll give you a little idea, December 1st, or November 30th, December 1st, December 2nd, we had the heavy rainfall, close to 6 inches. at Cedar and at the wastewater plant. We took in a little bit of 15 million gallons in the 2 days. So it puts a strain on the system. You know.
And also during the Christmas debacle, that wet water basin saved our souls out there for Cedar Street, because
Those of y'all that don't know that we're referring to is the wet weather basin on the end of Cedar, East Park. That was utilized heavily during that time we were shut down. It's also used during heavy rain events as well.
Yeah, Tim, I wanted to, the property owner that installed his own system, how did that go under the radar that he tied in to, is that correct? The private landowner that installed his own?
The service line was probably there, because it's a new property owner that bought that property.
Right.
For what reason, he felt that he wanted to change it. And I think that was communicated with, the city inspector at the time, you know, it's, like you said, probably just passed by, him not knowing what connection to really use there, but it is fixed.
Because I know we have been having
Right.
problems with the east part of it for months now. You think that attributed to the whole breakdown?
I think in the city as a whole, when we have a heavy rain event, because we don't just have rainfall no more, it's better than a half inch or better, you know. I think the system just runs at capacity, but runs slower. It takes a little longer for it to.
Yeah, I noticed the clay pipes broken. We talked about, I know we have a break in all of the city. How did the rainfall from last night impact anything at all?
There was about 0.65. We hadn't had any issues with that.
Well, I definitely want to thank you all for doing what you did to save the city.
Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but the service that you're referring to on Eastern, they actually worked on that today. The sewer department ran the camera through there and found that there were some little fingering roots from the oak tree.
On the east side, that's the east side.
Right, that's the one she's talking about. That's the one she's called about, that resident has called
Right,
her.
they did the ground.
And so the street department went today and used a stump grinder and cut the roots over the, service line, the sewer line there, so that the sewer department can go and change that line. That oak tree is causing issues with, we're not gonna cut it down, but we have to get rid of the roots over that line for them to fix it, correct?
Right, that's correct. Once that's done, we're gonna change out from the sidewalk up to the curb, because we feel that's where the problem area is. The camera was able to make it past the curb into the street, and we did not see anything
Okay.
that way.
So just to give you an update on that particular residence, they're working on that.
Okay. Super, thank you.
Anybody else?
I just want to echo the appreciation and the efforts you guys made, especially during Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I think I can speak for the entire council and the mayor. Thank you so much.
It makes it very interesting to know that we have a wastewater staff that will come out when we need them. No matter where they gotta come from, and the families and their kids, along with the other guys that were out there, left their families to, you know, do what they have to do.
Let me tell you, those guys didn't complain. They didn't. And you know, there was no way that I was gonna sit at home and watch TV while I knew they were out there. So, and I'm too nosy, so I had to go out there to see anyway. But I'll tell you, I learn a lot of the process and how things are done and why things are done a certain way by being on site. You know, we were doing stuff at Public Works last Friday, and I was on the excavator, and one of the employees, I did something with the excavator, I don't even remember what it was. He said, there really is nothing you can't do. I said, no, there's a lot that I can't do. But it also helps bring their morale up, knowing that, the mayor's out there. And look, I don't look at myself as anybody special. I still wear boots and blue jeans and get down in the mud. I'm not worried about that. But it does help those employees' morale, and they appreciate it. But I appreciate them, and during the entire, we were literally there from 5 p.m. to 10 a.m. the Christmas morning. No breaks, we didn't go home, we didn't take naps, none of that. We were there the entire time working on it. And none of those guys complained about anything. None of them said, man, I wish I'd be home right now. They knew they had a job to do, and they took care of it.
Nobody missed not saying Merry Christmas. Everybody said Merry
Yes.
Christmas. Right time. Everybody else said.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
I tell on behalf of myself as well, which I've always told y'all, the only time there's a problem is when there is a problem. But I've always advocated, especially in wastewater, they're the only workers that deals with life-threatening gases or what have you when they work. And I remember a while back at one of the elevator stations, we did a roundtable, and I had brought up the question of what do y'all do for one of the most dangerous group of workers in the city. And the first two came up between the fire department and the police department. I said, no, wastewater. And they were like, well, why wastewater? I said, well, they're the ones that go in and take care of things that you want to see disappear. And if you see it again, you'll be the first ones that you call. And dealing with methane gas or what have you. And I advocated for it, and I'm looking to do it again in the near future, that there'll be such thing as hazardous pay when they're out there like that. I understand time and a half is good, but when you put your life on the line with a situation like that, it's something we need to do. And not only for them, but the fire and police departments as well. Thank you, man.
Not to extend the time of the meeting, but I just want to make it clear that they did not get time and a half. Unfortunately, we have laws to follow, and they get paid straight time for those hours because they were on holiday pay already. So they're gonna get holiday pay for those days, but any extra time that they worked is gonna be straight time. And that's nothing we can do about it. There's no way you or I or anybody in this room can make a change to
Well,
that.
that's the reason why at the meeting I brought it up. For the legislators to go ahead and change that.
Yes, so anyway, just FYI, they do not get overtime for that.
Okay,
You tried.
let's see, thank you, Tim Layton, city engineer.
Thank you, Steph. I have no action items. I thought I did in the information I sent out Friday had under page 16, there was going to be a partial payment estimate for NCMC. They withdrew their request for that, so I have no action items under utility committee.
Okay, thank you. Anything else come before you, Tim? Recess.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. I hate to do this to you, Mr. Doré, but just real quick, as a discussion, we'll reopen Public Works if you don't mind. There was an agenda item that Mr. Core asked to have on the agenda that mistakenly got left off. And I want to make sure that we discuss it so we can get the answers for that question. And that was in reference to the cracks that continue to expand and widen within new street surface. Action needed to grout and fill cracks to prevent water intrusion and damage to subsurface road base. What are we looking at? How much time are we looking at? When should we start that, Mr. Mayor?
We're going to have to inventory so we can prepare a work order. We're going to have to come up with a footage of cracking that needs to be addressed. You're under contract already with Strike Force One through February 29th. So we're gonna get that contract, that work order underway with that contract, I'd say by the end of the month. We were waiting to get the street contractor out of the way. We couldn't have Strike Force conflicting with what Mill Leisure was doing. So now that we're at that point in the contract A, contract B matters, now we can get Strike Force to come in and do that work under an existing contract.
Thank you, sir. That was painless, Jeff.
Yes.
Good. Close, he said, close again. All right, recreation, Alderman Lochley, welcome back, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good to be back.
Yes, sir.
All right, Recreation Committee convenes. We have a quorum, barely, but we do have a quorum. First, we have a report from the Recreation Director, Peter Kirsch.
Good evening. The sidewalk installation and new parking lot installation at Martin Luther King that I spoke about last week is completed. We're currently getting prices on upgrading all the security lighting on the exterior of the building to LED out there, and all 5 pavilions have been pressure washed and repainted since I last spoke to you last month. The restroom work at the Tony Robichaud Sports Complex still continues. Hinston's side of the restroom, which is the largest buildings with the most fixtures, is getting close to complete, but it's not there, but it's getting close. And Miller is probably 2 weeks behind that, completion of that. The new air conditioners in the existing restrooms at the Bronco concession, the installation on that started yesterday, and I'm hoping they'll have that done by the end of this week. And I'm thinking next week that the demo on the umpire's room on the Hinston side of the park will start. I invite you to come look at it. The Hinston's restrooms were told to me last week that they were completed, released, go ahead and start the punch list. However, I got about a page and a half and 40 pictures into that process, and just, I'm gonna have to meet with the contractor. That's beyond a punch list, that's just not finished. So that has not been accepted as complete, as he suggested. We're still pushing as hard as we can. We can only kick so hard and beg and plead so much at this point, but we'll deal with it as we go. Control what we can control. Unfortunately, contract is not anything we can control right now. Moving into something more positive, our baseball and softball registration has begun. It will be open until February 24th. 8 weeks it was open this year. I'll tell you that because I know that some of you will get phone calls that we're not letting the kids play and all those things, but just want to put it out there on the record right now, 8 weeks is what it's been open to. Our baseball, softball, school league will open up in 3 weeks, and that will run through early March. Really excited about that. Our numbers have almost tripled in participation with area schools, but it's not just Crowley schools, it's all of Acadia Parish. We have Evangeline Parish in, we have Million Parish in. We've got requests from Jeff Davis Parish and Calcasieu Parish. Need some more fields.
No. We're not gonna take a vote on that, no.
Our youth basketball program has started both at the Martin Luther King Center and the Rice Festival Building. The game started last week, and that will continue through mid-February as well. Got a lot of things still going on. I'm currently getting prices on getting the roofs cleaned on the concession stands at the Tony Robichaud Sports Complex. I've got one in, the other 2 should be in by the end of this week. Get that cleaned up, get ready for the spring, get the tennis courts pressure washed, and just get everything ready for the springtime. So, also taking bids, and it's a slow process, as it all is in construction, We finally got the drainage repaired in the Rice Festival building. And those of you who've been by the women's restroom, it wreaked havoc on the plaster and the paint. So hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll get that done. Any questions?
About pickleball, how's that coming
Pickleball is great. We had people there from about 9 o'clock this morning until I left for the meeting at about 3:30. So even with basketball going on the big side of the building where we had 2 courts laid out, we had enough participation and usage. We laid out a court on the small side of the building, and every day the building's open, we have people playing. So
Can you give us an update on the pickleball, proposed court at, the 7th, 8th Street Park?
yes, I've reached out to a couple of companies that specialize in surfacing and things like that, and they're telling me they're anywhere between 8 and 10 weeks on a lead time before they can get to Crowley and do a physical inspection. The courts that run on 8th Street Park or Mars Park, the courts that run north and south, that's a concrete slab. It would probably require the least amount of work to convert, and that would probably be the cheapest route to start. I'm afraid on the courts that run east and west, those courts were asphalt. And there's gaps in them, probably 2 to 2.5 inches thick, and I don't think it would be a good idea to overlay cement on top of that. I think looking at that, it just dig out and start over. The good news is, going back with concrete, we shouldn't have to go back with something 6 to 8 inches thick. I think we could probably go 3, maybe 4 inches thick, and that would be suffice. It's gonna be to mitigate cost. How can we utilize what we still have as far as the fencing? And if there's a way we can dig that stuff up and pour within the existing fencing and save money on that as well. And I know that a few of y'all had come and done a site tour with me, and even looking at lighting, the other sets of courts, but it's gonna be a process, bear with me, but we are moving forward with it.
Thank you, Peter.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Thank you, Peter, appreciate it.
Peter, I think, so, when does baseball start?
Baseball day is April 6th,
When do we start having tournaments?
February 10th.
In reference to the new restrooms, and I don't wanna beat a dead horse, but, Peter's right, we've basically tried everything. According to the contract we received, the completion date on the contract was
September 28th.
September 28th for the new construction and the demolition and renovation of the current restrooms. We're not finished with new construction yet, and it's January. We've been given multiple excuses as to why, materials, when we brought up weather, well, one of them had to go to the hospital because of heat stroke. It didn't rain, but I guess it was too hot. Just last week, they tell us that the water line to Miller Stadium is not large enough. The job was supposed to be completed in September, and they're telling us in December that they don't have a large enough water line for the restrooms at Miller Stadium, and we're fixing to start baseball. I went as far as calling Mr. LJ and asking him to come visit. As you know, the contractors are LK Bro. If any of you want to reach out to them and ask them to finish our project, please try. I've tried, and I've tried to be as polite and professional as possible, but it is it is excessive. And in my opinion, it could be continued. I mean, it needs to be finished.
Mayor, I have a question about the contracts that we issue, whether it be the street contract, the restrooms. We don't have a deadline with a monetary penalty for each day that goes beyond that without some kind of circumstance that
Yes.
the council or the mayor would approve.
There is, in this contract also. The architect is even concerned because he doesn't get paid his increments until the job is done. And I mentioned it. And look, some people say I'm too open, but I'm just gonna tell you, I mentioned it to both attorneys, and they both said, really don't wanna get into that with a local contractor. Peter explained to them that they put the deadline on the contract. We didn't ask for a deadline. They put it in the contract. They gave us a deadline. And we're, how many days now past it? Peter's keeping count.
92.
You know, and so,
Well, 93, 30 minutes ago.
you know, what do we do? There's nobody working. Was anybody working in them today?
The last 2 days, we had work going on in the existing restrooms with HVAC, but nothing as far as construction goes.
No fixing the plumbing. There are, the automatic flushers are not even installed. There's multiple things that need to be done. And I think Peter's being hopeful that Miller Stadium's 2 weeks past Hinston's because, well, of course, maybe 2 weeks past Hinston's, but Hinston's may be 2 months from now. I don't know. I don't know what to do. But yes, that clause is in there.
Maybe a letter of encouragement, maybe in order to just have.
If you've noticed, I'm sorry, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, to address your question, Brad, two things come to mind, and it's not a matter of whether it's engineering or architecture. The contracts, public works contracts usually have a liquidated damages clause. Almost always have a liquidated damages clause. Problem with exercising that term in the contract twofold. One is, you almost have, and this is why the attorneys tell you to be cautious with exercising liquidated damage. The contractor has to have caused you some damage for you to go into that. You have to be able to show that his lateness led to some monetary loss or some other kind of loss. Second thing is the contractor, if you begin to take money away from him, that contractor is likely to be less and less viable, and it could lead to a default, and that could lead to what you really don't want is everything stops until the performance bond company can come up with another contractor, get him engaged and get him going. You may defeat the purpose because you begin to tell him, threaten the contractor with liquidated damages. It may lead him to default depending on how financially viable he is at that point in time anyway. So he could work against you. It's going to cost you legal fees to pursue it. So kudos to the attorneys who tell you don't do that because it worked for them and cost for you. So those are the two things that I would say you want to keep in mind as you might contemplate pursuing liquidated damages.
Sure. And you mentioned financial effects will be, we lose tournaments, we lose, what's the bank.
Like if I would have to continue to rent restrooms after the completion date,
Yes.
which we haven't had to do. There were 2 tournaments in the fall where They did give us usage, they just weren't complete. But it is a real concern of mine now, February 10th. February 10th is a junior high softball tournament that is gonna use those 4 fields, and probably spill over into 2 other fields. And softball is a girls' sport. We have 3 toilets right now for the ladies to use. And you average 12 girls per team, and we're looking anywhere from 20 to 30 teams for this tournament. So that's not counting mothers, grandmothers, aunts, sisters, cousins, or anyone else. It's not like a baseball tournament where it's boys. It's a real concern. If we don't have those restrooms completed for February 10th, I'll probably have to rent more restrooms. And then that'll be something that'll be documented. I have been very open and shared my calendar with the contractor. I've threatened, I've kicked, I've screamed, I've whined, I've done everything but cry. I've offered to help. I just don't know what else to do. I refrained from going into the punch list aspect of it for one portion of the project, because the last thing I want him to do is tell me, well, we had to stop construction to go address the things that you nitpicked me about so we can get it ready for your first tournament. So I'm not comfortable accepting anything from him until it's 100% complete. And that's why I don't want to get into that. We can take the square footage and we can draw out formulas to figure out how much we owe to accept this one project. That's just opening up a line of excuses that's his credit with excuses is tapped out. It's that bad. And I don't really mean to sit here and dog anyone, but this is real. The notice to proceed was issued April 1st. That was a Saturday. We recognize that. We pushed it back to April 3rd, which was the Monday. When we had the grand opening, or the ribbon cutting, which most of you attended, at that point, we were 3 weeks beyond the notice to proceed being issued, and the only thing that we had done was grass being removed. We had a meeting before that ribbon cutting with the mayor at the Rice Festival Building, talking about our concerns. We've got plenty of time. I demanded a Gantt chart from the contractor at that point. We met probably in July, again, briefly, with the architect. I don't want to say we were told to back off, but we were told that at the time our concerns were maybe a little bit premature. We called a meeting again at the beginning of November, late October, beginning of November. We were told 2 more weeks at that point. 2 more weeks. So we were expecting this to be done before Thanksgiving. Didn't happen. Then we're told, after we contracted one of the investors or partners in the business that met us on site, by the project manager, oh, by the way, that site's done, y'all can accept it, go do your punch list. 30 minutes into it, I like to brush them back up. This is not complete. There's no punch list, this is a finish your job list. Told him that day, again, February 10th, I'm not working around you. And we're not making any more concessions about why this can't be done or accepting anything to be done. One time in the meeting, he told me he couldn't wait on the rebar. He had to wait on the rebar. But the Gantt chart showed the concrete work being finished 2 weeks before his rebar arrived. So I questioned him on that, and then it was toilets. I said, well, back in April, you advised us that all the materials you needed were on the floor in your warehouse. So why am I hearing 90 days after you said it would be done that you had to wait on materials? The flooring was an issue. Normally we can go pick this stuff up wherever they go pick it up. That was a 4 or 5 week delay. Where is it? I'll go get it. Listen, I've gone on long enough about it. It's frustrating. I invite you to come see.
And I have been out there, and I have seen what
Yeah.
things that.
And there's some workmanship issues, but, that's on the list, and that's also photographed and documented. So, it's not just completing the project, it's how this stuff, and look, I can tell you, there's, in the women's restroom right now at the Hiskins, y'all started me, but there's gaps between the toilets and the floor, in some cases that are 3/4 of an inch, and the shims are exposed. There's wires that are coming out of the wall to the auto flush mechanism in the toilets they're not exposed, they're insulated, but there's no protection. That's not gonna last, that's not making it in the first tournament. We've got at least one auto flush that doesn't work in the men's restroom. And another question I have for him is in all the urinals, there is a manual override to flush, but on none of the toilets. If we lose power, even if we get a backup generator to go in there, we can't flush anything. So, thank you. Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The other thing that Tim is not saying, the frustration with the tournaments and things that are coming in the future, we built an amazing reputation with our facility here, and word gets around to the coaches, the parents, and all of those people. They'll look elsewhere when they're scheduling in the future. So it even compounds the issue that we have now.
Tournament directors have already contacted Peter and asked for a guarantee that these restrooms are gonna be done this season.
Well, as a grandparent attending those games, that's the first thing that I ought to be complaining about.
I had tournament directors on site Friday. And that's, so since April of 22 until last Friday, the first question right now is not field availability. Are the restrooms done?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Jim, do you have anything for us? No, okay. Thank you, Tim. We have no action items and no discussion anymore. Okay, committee recess.
Thank you, sir. Zoning annexation, Alderman Reggie.
Thank you. I do have a form. We'll start with Mr. Tim Mayor, please. All right, I'll make it short. I have no action, no discussion. Anything else? I will recess.
Thank you, sir. Public safety, Alderman Core.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting. We have a quorum present with Woodridge absent. First, I'd like to amend the agenda to include 2 action items for a 2024 Class B active beer permit for Family Dollar Store located at 415 Southeastern Avenue, and a 2024 Class A retail beer permit and Class A retail liquor permit for Michael Cubes, Skull Enterprises, referred to as Mickey's, at 102 North Avenue F. And I so move up to the end of the agenda. Yes.
Brad Core.
Yes.
Byron Wilridge is absent. Zimmy Reggie is absent. Chuck Ashby,
Sammy just walked out.
Sammy just walked out. Maybe went to the restroom. Sammy went to the restroom. You want to do the reports for now, and then when he gets back?
Sure. Then we'll go to reports. Chief of Police Joy.
The month of December, the guys answered 808 calls. On the traffic detail, they issued 414 citations. Patrol traffic violations, they issued 117, and we had 21 criminal arrest citations. A total of 552 for the month of December. That was kind of a lot. each month it seems like we keep getting more and more. And I think a lot of that is due to, us starting to fill up the shifts. We're still 4 short, however. So I do expect those numbers to climb as we move forward. Also, at the year end out, for the whole year, we answered 10,216 calls. That is up above normal, and a lot of that's due to, I think, our reporting system now. Things are tracked more closely. Every call is now monitored and stuff, so I don't think there's no major concerns. Total citations for the year was 3,826, and so forth. The biggest area of concern that I had is we had 443 wrecks in the city, and that's quite a large number for our population, our city size. Years ago, we used to do 300, and now we're almost to 5. You know, I mean, we definitely have a problem, and I think with us increasing our efforts on the traffic side should reduce these numbers moving forward. I'm hoping that we see a decline in accidents. Also, with the increase of our guys are very proactive now. It's a little different than in the past. It has created a lot more work on our records clerks and stuff. We used to have 2 records clerks where one of them has moved to part-time, but that part-time is no longer an option. We need to move it back to full-time. It was done by council years ago, but now, with that new pay raise came in, when we calculated everything, we calculated with one part-time. I would like to bring that position back. I don't know if it has to be done by council or not. I've already met with the mayor on it. And the mayor, you know, it's really not that much of an increase, but, you know, I think to do it legally, we have to go through council to put that slot back. So for that, I am asking that records clerk slot be put back.
So this is an action item that you're requesting?
Yeah.
Okay. To restore the records clerk position from part-time to full-time?
Yes, we have one position now, but in the past, we have 2. And the former chief had just moved that one to a part-time position for some reason. Which now the need is definitely there with the increase in citations and stuff, and it's a heavy workload on her now to try to do it part-time, and she just can't get it done. And I can only work her so many hours, because she's part-time.
Sure.
I'll make that one.
I have a motion to restore the records clerk position from currently part-time to full-time.
So he's asking to make the current part-time position full-time and add another full-time position, correct?
No. We're gonna get rid of the part-time and just be
a full, okay.
full-time positions at the pay rate that we had increased.
Correct.
You have 2 clerks?
2 records clerks.
Right, so they're,
So they have a full-time position and a part-time position.
We technically had 2 records clerks, but he had just moved one part-time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you know, and I just wanna make sure by me putting it back that it's done properly.
Gotcha.
so we have a motion, and I'll second that motion.
Well, before you,
And step in the discussion.
yeah, before you make that motion, I think the motion needs to be to make a recommendation to the full council. Yeah, to put it,
Right, we need to set
Yes.
aside with the amended agenda.
okay, just want to make sure we put that in. But I do remember when you mentioned it.
Mayor, if we can backtrack since Alderman Reyes is here.
Oh, wait, I don't, Bradford breaks.
Again, we were going to amend the agenda to include 2 liquor and beer permits, one being a beer, another one being a retail beer and a retail liquor permit, and also to amend the agenda to include an action item to change the current part-time liquor store position to full-time.
Okay.
So moved.
All right, so, Alderman Core to amend the agenda for those, items. Alderman Core, vote please.
Yes.
Alderman Reggie,
Yes.
Alderman Dorey.
Yes.
All right, so that's 3 yeses, so your agenda is amended.
Thank you. Hey, Chief, you have anything other to add in your report?
No, I'd also like to, give thanks to the sheriff's office for their, vehicle donations.
Yes, we received 4 units.
Yeah, it was, muchly needed and muchly appreciated.
Yes, couldn't come at a better time.
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you, Katie Gibson, our sheriff.
Yes.
So the signage you see on the vehicles are this year?
She was asking about the decals, they will be changed. from
Yeah,
sheriff to-
we're gonna have somebody restripe, peel it all off and redo them, our logos.
Sandy, yes.
So the beer and the liquor, what is on
Yes, we have to a Family Dollar store at 415 Southeastern for a package beer permit.
there? Okay.
And Mike is located at 102 North Avenue F for retail beer. and retail
That's
beer.
Martin's, that 102 North Avenue. The building has been sold, building and property has been sold, and a different person is going to operate the business and is applying for a liquor license under his name.
But they still have business there.
On
Well, if
the
the
current
license,
management,
are we renewing?
no, this would be a
This is a new one under the new owner.
So they already have one for this year, for the other one?
If not, they would have to check.
we'll have to look into that, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because that would be, you need to shut them down and write some tickets, huh?
I'll have to look at it, we'll have to see if I don't have that list of,
I don't have the,
if Martin's Tavern or whatever it is, has a 24. But this, again, the property and the building is sold, and that property owner is gonna lease it to a new owner, business owner, and it's this guy that's, applying for the license.
any other questions? We're going to amended agenda.
Jim, Brian,
Step,
aren't you supposed to abstain from that?
I can't vote on it, but I
That's
just.
what I'm saying.
He amended the agenda, but
Amended it.
he won't be able to vote on the items.
Okay.
So we won't have a quorum.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. You have to back it up.
So we'll just have to bring it up in council,
okay.
full council. That's what it's voted on anyway, but, and that'll be all 3 items. We'll
So everything will be taken care of.
make sure that's on the agenda, on the council agenda.
Right, but we can still hold the position in the police department. We can vote on that.
Nothing tonight, you can't vote on anything tonight. Oh, yes, you can vote on that tonight, because Sammy can vote on that, yes.
All right. Thank you.
I guess you can check on that tonight, chief, or whichever.
You talking about for the, yeah, I mean, we can look at it, I gotta get with City Hall and see what permits they have and stuff. With license, what he's talking about is for the records clerk.
Yeah.
Better
Yeah, I'm just asking you, you're gonna check on that tonight.
Yeah, well, I gotta get with City Hall.
I mean,
No, but it's after January 1st.
No, I don't know if they renewed their license with City Hall or not, or if it's under a different
But it
business.
still had to come through us.
Well, when did
right, but we don't have that list with us. We have to
I don't know
go on
if it come before, I don't
computers
know
and
if
see
it's
all
already
the
signed.
things.
But you say it was a change of ownership?
Yes,
Well, if it was a change of ownership, we had that problem a while back in one of the dollar stores. Think about it. I mean, Sam is right. I mean, they should not be selling alcohol over there. Not after December 31st. He said, all right.
Yeah, they should not be serving alcohol from January.
Right, whether it's, now they would be under their old permit, but it still would be coming for us either for renewal or
Correct.
a new.
Correct. We'll check into it in the morning and see if, see what's what.
I mean, you know, we just want to be transparent here, man.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, anything else for Chief? We'll move on to Chief Louis Romero's report for the fire.
Good evening, I hope everybody had a good Christmas and a good New Year. The Christmas parade that the Rotary and the fire department held December, it was the first, but then it was the 7th or the 8th. We had a good turnout. We had a successful parade. We met today working on next year's parade. I wanted to tell y'all, I told the mayor this Friday while we was working, I'll never, ever complain about a city truck going slow.
Public Works.
Public Works truck going slow. Until you drive one of them dump trucks. I have to go fill it up 25 miles an hour, the fastest you can go without getting a beating. And I also told the mayor, I think it'd be a good idea that maybe once a quarter, each department head kind of swaps to see what goes on in that department. You know, I worked along with the mayor all day Friday, all day Saturday, and yesterday. And I didn't realize what Public Works does. You know, street department, I really didn't. So it opened my eyes. As of today, we got 2 openings at the fire department. I had to have a termination last Thursday. So we got 2 openings. For the week before Christmas, we gave 8 food boxes out to different citizens in the community. And I know you read about the Christmas miracle that we just came upon. It was one of the guys we was giving a gift box to, and nobody seen him for 2 days. And he was down on the floor. So, January 1st started our rating year. Yay! We get ready, we're working on our rating year right now, so a lot of things have been moving in the fire department. But for the month of December, we ran 62 calls. Because of the holidays, the EMS went up. But hazardous conditions, we had 6 calls, 37 EMS, 6 false alarms, 3 fires, 7 good intent calls, and 3 service calls. If you go to the second page, the first call, we had a 10-minute and 12 ETA. That's at Crowley High. We do run to Crowley High for fire alarms, and that's when the sky fell out, and they took the tower truck, because we had reports of lightning. So instead of taking an engine, they took the tower truck. That's why it's a 10-minute ETA. But other than that, you can look down and see that there's nothing over 4 minutes and 8 seconds, 4 minutes, 25 seconds, something like that. We had a response time of an average of 2 minutes and 32 seconds in December. And for the year of 2023, the Crowley Fire Department ran 554 calls. Give you an update. I met with Bonaventure today. Rescue 15, as of Friday around noon, on there.
Yeah, that's the old ambulance.
The old white ambulance is no longer in service. It's gonna cost too much money to fix, so we took all the equipment off of the rescue unit, and we was in the process of the money I got from the state getting the squad truck. Well, we just converted Service Engine 21 into a squad truck a year and a half earlier. So trying to save money, you know. I met with Bonaventure today, they're supposed to be getting all the supporting documents for state contract, and as soon as he gets all that information, he's saying that trust's gonna be about 320, 330. So we budgeted 350, so we good. And then that extra 20,000 is gonna be for shelving and rollout trays and all that once the truck is built.
And that money is from Representative Stefanski,
That's
the
from the,
$600,000.
that's from the ag money, yes, sir. But that's the money that we requested last Rice Festival that we started with, ex-Fire Marshal Bush Browning, and then got Stefanski involved and got the Speaker of the House and all that involved. So that's where that money comes from. The remaining of the 300 or the 250 is gonna go toward renovating South Crowley and North Crowley. Hopefully we got enough money. Any questions?
Chief,
And-
I compliment you on your response times, it's still excellent, and.
Our last one, it went up a little bit, it was a little over 3 minutes. And I got them that books, so, yeah, it's 3:32, 2:32. But, again, I know I called each one of y'all and thanked y'all for the raise, I want to do it publicly. The guys really, really appreciate it. And the guys are, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, they are in the opera, opera, they don't want to go to the opera.
No, Kim wouldn't be happy.
They had the Enterprise building, training, so they busted holes in walls and breaching walls and, forcible entry doors, just within the practice, so that's great. If there's no more questions, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, well, next we'll move to City Inspector Tony Duhon, who is absent, but I do have his, report, which I'll be happy to read. Animal control work orders, monthly report quantity, 2 dead animals, 10 cats, 35 dogs, 1 animal bite, 4 dogs were taken in, and 3 cats were taken in. The code enforcement, there were 255 violations issued in 2023. Flood management, he's preparing the annual audit for 2023. Permits, 399 permits issued for 2023, and of those, in addition to 31 demolition permits. Planning and zoning, re-subdivide process, along with annexation process of properties. Stormwater management, preparing for annual audit for 2023. Update, November 29th, 2023, special council meeting, 320 East Elm Street, repair permit was issued. 530 Lawson Drive, repair permit has been issued. 1418 South Avenue H, repair permit has been issued. 1419 North Avenue J, repair permit has been issued. And 225 East 11th Street, just received review today for permitting, no information on remaining list as of yet. Respectfully, Tony Duhon, City Inspector. Now we'll move to action items. We have one, the records clerk position in the police department. And this time I recommend to the full council changing the part-time records clerk position to a full-time position within the police department. Do I have a second? And a second by Alderman Doreen. Any discussion? Study.
Don't we move this to revenue and finance from us, since it has to be a revenue something, and then they would go to one?
It's already in the budget already.
I think that is already in the budget.
No,
No,
it's budgeted for the part-time position.
part-times, okay.
Yeah, the part-time position is budgeted,
Okay.
but moving it to full-time, we'll have to get a cost on that, for next week.
Yeah, you approve.
Yeah.
That way you make a little time on it.
Mayor, can we refer that, let the committee approve and then we'll refer
Sure,
it to?
refer to revenue and finance. That's fine.
Okay, amend my motion to, as follows, as stated. Seconded by Jeff Moray. Discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. The discussion items, I think we've covered everything, including the mayor's comments regarding the agenda items I've submitted.
Yes, so, and actually Tony's report covered, what you had asked for, an update on the, special council meeting, addresses.
Yes.
And, it appears that most of, those properties have, repair permits. Cooney reports that, scope of work submitted and plan review completed on many of them also. So, it looks like my goal, I don't want to speak for everyone, but it seems like the goal of dealing with the blighted properties is moving forward. Some of these properties are actually getting some attention and getting some repairs and moving forward with cleaning up, and hopefully we get some families living in it. So,
Yes, good news, indeed. Anything else to come before the committee? Then the committee recesses.
thank you, sir. Public buildings, Alderman Dorey.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll open public buildings. It's Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024, 4 p.m. We have a quorum. Under reports, there's no report. Action items: to approve the request of the Sharon Ross, the City of Crowley, Department in sponsoring the MLK celebration by waiving the fee for the use of the MLK Center for January 15th, 2024.
That's a move.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And with nothing else to come before us, then I'll recess.
I'd like to just mention another topic that was left off unintentionally from the agenda. The status to demolish Enterprise building. I actually yesterday, spent all day yesterday, and with the City of Rain Police Department's trustees, inmates, their work crew came by, borrowed a forklift from Supreme Rice, and we hauled files and file cabinets from the 3rd floor of the Enterprise Center to complete emptying that building of the files and things that we need to get out of there. They were still there working today, and we actually found another room. As the fire chief mentioned, I've offered to the fire department, the police department, and even the Rain Police Department, if they want to do some training while they have a building that they can destroy, they're welcome to do so. It's a very large building, and it's a great opportunity for training, breach walls, sheetrock walls, and locked doors, and crawling through the dark because yesterday afternoon, Clico showed up and cut the wires off of it, so it no longer has electricity. Today, Lawco turned the water service off to it, so it no longer has water. And so it's safe for the fire and police to train in. Lots and lots of offices and spaces for the police department to practice clearing a building if they so choose. And so while the fire department was breaking doors down, there happened to be one office that we never had a key for, and none of us knew, except now I know that the police department knew what was in that room. And I walked in there the day, and the fire department had reached that door, and it's another room full of files for the police department. So the Rain Police Department's inmates will be assisting us in moving those files. I have leased the building that the firefighters were living in when they were not in Central Station again. further storage of those files until we can build a records retention facility. I went and visited the one that the city of Rain recently built. Very nice. It's a 50 by 100 building. I'm planning on a 60 by 100 building, which would be in the parking lot of the police department. It'll be perfect area, spot for access by city hall, city police, city court, and then a small section for the fire department. Climate controlled, just a metal building. The city of Rain had their inmate crew actually assemble the building. The building is manufactured and designed by the manufacturer. There's no need for that, to worry about that part. The inmates actually assembled the building. They insulated it, built the walls and stuff inside. The walls are made of 2x4s, they're about 8 foot high. They're made of 2x4 frames, and there's hog wire. There's an official, I guess, official name for that wire. I don't remember what it's called, but it's hog wire. Walls, basically just as partitions to separate each department, city hall, city court. It doesn't have to, that makes it so that you don't have to put so many air conditioner units. It just cools the whole space, but then you can also lock the gate. And if you can't trust the police department with the city court files or the city court with city hall files, then who the hell can we trust? So it's all partitioned off, and it is really nice, and it gives a lot of room. And so, again, I know I mentioned this already. I'm working with the city of Rain to get me some pricing on the materials and things. Actually have some of the materials, electrical panels in the Enterprise Center that the inmates are taking out to be able to use in that building. Also, the 3-phase panel that was in the Enterprise Center has been taken out, and I'm hopeful that I can use that in the pavilion construction. That's a very expensive panel, and it's 20 years old, but it's inside, it's in good shape. There's nothing wrong with it. So we're trying to take some pieces out, utilizing the City of Rain's inmates. And so I want to thank Mayor Chuck Robichaud and Chief Carol Stilley, because they're definitely helping us quite a bit. Chief Hebert is biting at the bullet to create and have that same program here in the city. And I'd love to be able to make it happen if at some point we can, because the cost of that is, that labor is there. They own the labor, and they're here for nothing for us. So anyway, we're working on that stuff. I did talk to the contractor, and I told him that I would love to have the building demolished and the property cleaned as soon as possible. And he was welcome to start at any time. But if he starts before Mardi Gras, he needs to finish it before Mardi Gras. And he told me that he can do that. So as of now, it looks like we should be able to have that building. They should start demolishing it. I think he's got plans probably by the end of next week to begin and be complete before Mardi Gras. I told him if we can't finish it before Mardi Gras, we can't start till after Mardi Gras, because I don't want a half-torn building there and, setting a stage in front of a half-torn building. The hazard, the dangers there it's not worth it. So, but we're moving forward with it. It's getting there. It's getting there. The cost of demolition is $92,500, and that's Fry Construction that gave that quote. I got 4, 5, maybe 6 quotes on doing that, but So, and they are going to, I've asked him numerous times, and he is more than happy to save whatever we want, but he's gonna save some of the timber, some of the beams, some of the large boards, that can be salvaged, so that we can incorporate it into the new build somehow. I'm open to suggestions, whether we build some benches, maybe front of the stage or something, build something with some of the wood at least, just to have a piece of that building still on the property there in the new build. So when I start working with the architect, we're just about to the end of working through the contract. Once I start working with the architect, I will be calling on many of you to come and meet and give some input and ideas and opinions, because this is not my pavilion, this is our city's pavilion, so I'm gonna need some help to make sure we do it right. So, your phones will be ringing.
Good. I have a question, it's
Yes,
not about the pavilion, but it's about another old building. Do we still have, I think they call it the old Katie Rice mill that they donated to the city? Do we still have that from?
You're talking about on First Street that Miss Martha had donated? That was sold in the last administration. That was sold to Supreme Rice. And Supreme Rice is going to end up demolishing it, and that'll be rice bins. They'll end up. Yeah. Supreme Rice purchased the property. Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Starting to feel a little different, so I have to.
Thank you, Steph.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take Byron, I'll call him.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, so insurance and personnel, Alderwoman Marks.
Thanks, Mayor. The Insurance and Personnel Committee now convenes this Wednesday, January the 3rd. We do have a quorum, and the purpose of the meeting will be to consider reports and action items, which there are none. I ask now if there's any discussion from anyone, any discussion?
Just real quick, because, I know you're all ready to go, but, Street Commissioner, I'll be bringing him up probably next month, at next month's meeting, to get him appointed, but, he started working today, and, it is Wesley Jacobs. Many of you know Wesley. Wesley, I think is going to be a great leader for our street department, and do a great job, once he learns the ropes of it. I'm excited to have him on board. Wesley, helps out. If you don't know him, and you may have heard his name, he helps out with coaching at Notre Dame. So that's Wesley Jacobs.
Well, we are very excited to have him. Any further discussion? If not, the committee recesses.
Thank you, ma'am. Alderwoman Chasson, Community Economic Development.
Yes, thank you. The Community and Economic Development Committee will come to order, and we do have a quorum present. We just have a couple of things that will be going on in the near future. The Tourism Director has mentioned that the first Miss Carnival Diacity pageant will be held on Saturday, January 13th. Registration forms are on the City of Crowley Facebook page or can be picked up at City Hall. The carnival will be held downtown on Tuesday, February 13th, Mardi Gras Day, featuring bands, music with live bands, and a Mardi Gras parade. Crowley Main Street is planning the Chocolate Stroll downtown. It's a shopping event. It will be held on Saturday, February 10th, close to Valentine's. And planning has begun for the 2024 Taste of Crowley event. For the Chamber of Commerce, they are co-hosting the Acadiana Solar Development Roundtable. That is this Friday, January 5th. Begins at 8:30 a.m. It's at the Light Center in Lafayette. The Farmers Appreciation Dinner is January 18th at 5:30 at the Rice Festival Building. and the educational series, Prosper Acadia, Strategic Planning for Your Small Business. There is a session on January 11th at the Main Street patio. The Crowley Garden Club will observe Arbor Day on January 19th by planting trees in a designated area, and we're working on the details for that right now. West Crowley Beautification, Dr. Izora Proctor reports that there has been an increase in cans, food bags, and litter around town during the holidays. They have formed a cleanup team composed of young people and adults who are working to clean up the West Crowley area, including West Hutchinson. During the last 3 months, they have presented 3 beautiful Yard of the Month awards as they work to develop Crowley pride in our residents. And the Historic District Committee, potential assistance in replacing the street signs in the Historical and Cultural District is being researched. They would also like to have input on the Doosan and Martin Luther King Park projects. And the other thing that the mayor has been working on and that we will be putting together a meeting is the beautification or litter committee, and we will get that going to start doing some things in preparation for the cleanest city, but also just to keep our city clean all the time. So there'll be some efforts with that coming in the future. There are no action items. Does anyone have any discussion items? With that, the Community and Economic Development Committee will recess.
Thank you, ma'am. Revenue and Finance, Alderman Lutchell.
Thank you, Mayor. Revenue Finance Committee convenes. We have a quorum present. We have no reports to be given out. We have no action items to deal with. We have no discussion items. Any discussion with the committee?
We need to amend the agenda to include the appropriation for the police department's possession.
Does that have to happen after the vote of next week?
Well, it's for, you amend the agenda so that y'all can discuss it and vote on it, and your vote may be to send it to full council for discussion after receiving a cost estimate within the next week. So that just so that we can pass it through Revenue and Finance Committee. Right. So if you want to amend the agenda.
Okay, we'll amend the agenda based on those words of the mayor.
Let's do a roll call. Dickie?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Okay, so you have everyone voted yes, so.
Okay, all right.
Now you can bring it up and offer to send it, if that's what you want to do.
That's fine, yeah.
Because you don't have any numbers to approve it, but offer to send it to full council next week, to give time to get numbers right.
Okay.
And that's what it costs us.
Okay. All in favor of that?
You need a motion.
Motion. Second? I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
Got it.
Okay. With no other discussion item and no more discussion, we'll recess.
Thank y'all. Some great discussion this evening. A lot of good discussion. It's all good discussion.
No one needs to